Hello, hello, hello. Good morning, everyone. All right. So, hi, everybody. My name is Afton Robertson. Good morning and happy Monday to everybody. Welcome to this month's Marketing Services webinar. We have some super duper duper exciting stuff to cover with you guys today around how to turn your website into a 24/7 sales machine. I represent the salon marketing department here. So when you guys are booking a time for a free marketing assessment or consultation, that will be with me. So I can take you guys through like how people find you online and like where the traffic that's going to your site originates from, things of the nature. And then show you guys some tailored solutions as to how we're helping salons really, get more bookings and get more recognition online. So I am going to go ahead and pass it off to the one and only Brian Mattingly to get everything started on this fine Monday.
Thanks, Afton. Yes, as you said, excited. We're going to talk about really some interesting things that are happening and some dynamics you can work from today. Our hope is you'll leave here with a couple, two, three really good tips that you can think about implementing to really grow your business and get people into the chairs in your location. So, just topics that we're going to cover. I'm going to start us off just talk a little bit about trends that impact our revenue. Then we're going to pass it over to our web team, and Howie and Teresa are going to really take us into the foundation and some of the core fundamental pieces to be considering as the world of search is shifting and changing on your website. We'll talk a little bit with Chanda about SEO and some of the things you need to be thinking about when it comes to being found when people are searching for salon services. And then lastly, we'll bring it home with Peyton, who's going to talk a little bit about just on the digital ad front, how AI is impacting that. So our hope again is that we give you a couple things that you can take away and lean into as you're looking to grow your business for the rest of this year and into the busy season coming up here towards the holidays. Just so you know, the team over here at Salon Marketing Pro is filled with a lot of talent. You're going to get to meet some of them today. We have over 70 marketing specialists behind the scenes that have come together to help us, really navigate the changes and all the things happening in the world of digital marketing. We've built teams in the SEO world, the web development world, the digital marketing world, and others, even the AI side of things, to really ensure that we're helping our clients grow and succeed in the ever-changing market of marketing right now. All right, so let me just kick us off before we get into kind of the meat of things that we want you to be thinking about and things that we want to teach you today. Let me just first just kind of throw this mash of things out on the screen because I want you to be thinking about this. There's probably, if you've been online in the past 12, 18 months, even 24 months at this point, you've likely seen something where AI is telling us if we don't, as business owners, get moving, we're going to die, or there's great ways to make this your superpower, or what should I be thinking about of, if when it comes to AI, my business is going to succeed, it's not going to succeed. So we have all these conflicting headlines that come in that we're seeing every day. And what that can create for business owners and operators is a bit of fear, right? How do we navigate what's going on? Is it really a superpower having AI and having, the changes in search and Google out there? Is this really going to help me? Is it really going to hurt me? Wow, I've been really relying on Google for people searching, for salon services or color services to help me grow my business. Is that going to be changing? So the good news is, we're here to help and we're here to help you navigate it. But the reality is, if your head's in the sand and you're not paying attention to this as a business owner right now, you need to start. And so this is where we really are starting to lean in and try to help you think about this. Now, one thing I will say is if you haven't had a marketing partner before, this is probably the time to be thinking about it. The shifts in Google and the shifts in search and everything that's going on with AI right now, it's very complex. And, as salon owners and operators, we're very good at creative. We're very good at running our business. We're very good at, working with our clients and running our P&L. Becoming a digital marketing expert in the world of AI is a very complicated thing. So it doesn't have to be us. Of course, we have a great team of people that can help, but there's, even if it's a consultant or another group, it doesn't matter. My encouragement to anyone on this call is certainly be thinking about, hey, maybe now is the time for me to find a partner to help me navigate the world. The other thing I would say is the connectivity between software and marketing is more important than it's ever been. At Salon Marketing Pro, that's something we're here to connect to the back end of the software. And when you do that well, what that does is it helps our clients that are connected shorten the runway to success when it comes to marketing, because the data that's coming from our systems of record, or our software of record for running our business, feeds our marketing, and that makes more intelligent AI, in fact, and really helps us shorten again that runway needed to be successful and get more people in our chairs over and over again. So those are just a couple of things to consider. So again, 75 to 85% of all searches are shifting away from Google and moving into other platforms such as AI and AI overviews. We'll talk a little bit about that with Peyton. But just know that the world is changing now, and it's not a time to be fearful. It's a time to just to figure out, okay, how do I navigate? And again, that's what we're here to do. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to bring Howie and Teresa in, two of our experts on the website side, really talking about that 24/7 sales machine mindset that we're looking at. And so I'm going to pass it over. Let's talk about how people use websites today. So I'll kick it over to Howie and Teresa here.
All right, thank you, Brian. So, all right, everybody, let's start with kind of a quick picture in your mind. Imagine you have a stylist on your team who never takes a break. No days off, no lunch breaks, no vacations. That's exactly what your website could be if it's built with the right mindset.
The reality is most future clients are not browsing your service at 11 a.m. when you're free to answer the phone. They're scrolling at 10 p.m. on the couch. They're thinking about booking Sunday morning when the salon's closed. If your site isn't ready in that exact moment with a clear way to book, buy a gift card, or at least learn more about your business, you're going to lose them to the salon down the street whose website is ready.
So, however, today we're not just showing them the design side of things, but also the tech side too, right?
Correct. We're going to break down how we turn your site into the hardest working stylist, a 24/7 sales machine. And we'll show you both the design side and the tech side of making that happen.
All right, so how to turn your website into like a 24/7 sales machine. So your website should be your virtual stylist, and just like a stylist greets their clients and makes them feel comfortable and showcase their skills, your site should also welcome visitors with your best work, your unique style, and an easy way to take the next step, booking right then and there. And it's not enough that your site is just there to exist. It has to represent your brand's personality and instantly connect with the type of clients you want to attract.
And from the tech side, reliability and speed is important. If your site takes 5 seconds to load, that's like keeping a client waiting in the lobby while you're finishing lunch. We'll also need mobile first designs, meaning it's just as easy to book an appointment on your phone as it is on desktop. We want your site to be like your top stylist, always on time, always polished, and ready to deliver results.
Yeah, and also as Brian mentioned earlier, AI is changing the game too. So how is this affecting the conversation?
Yeah, AI-driven search has changed the industry. From instance like Google and Bing searches, it doesn't just listen to every business anymore. It recommends what it thinks is the best option, and AI decides that based on truth. That means your website has to look modern, be up to date, load fast, and have consistent, trustworthy information. If your site looks outdated or gives conflicting information, like different hours or different pages, AI might simply skip you and recommend someone else. So keep your tech and content fresh. It isn't an option anymore. It's how you stay in the recommendations listing instead of disappearing from it.
Yeah, exactly. And in the next slide, we're going to talk about kind of the three core elements of a sales-driven website. So Brian, you can go to the next slide for us.
Hopefully it moved.
Yes. So this is where we guide the visitor's eyes and attention. We start with a clean layout, clear text hierarchy, and absolutely no clutter. We want to make sure your booking button is impossible to miss. And on mobile, it should be right under your thumb. We also want consistent branding, colors, fonts, and tones so people feel like they've stepped into your salon, even online. And of course, stunning imagery. Photography is kind of like your handshake online. If it's professional and inspiring, clients will instantly see you as worth their time and their money.
And next up, you have conversion-focused content. This is the science behind the words and the structure. Every headline, every paragraph, every button should have a purpose to move people closer to booking or buying. We test call to actions, for example, learn more might get fewer clicks than book your transformation now. We place booking buttons throughout the page, not just at the top, so no matter where someone is, they can easily take actions immediately. And then next up, you have automations and technology. This is a big part too. This is how you get leverage. Chatbots can quickly answer questions instantly. For example, do you take walk-ins? What's your pricing? Without lifting a finger. Lead forms can capture client details so you can follow up later. Integrations can trigger automatic texts or emails to re-engage people who visit but didn't actually book an appointment. That's like having a personal assistant working all hours, except you don't need a coffee break.
Yeah, and when you combine all of these three elements, the design, content, and tech, you go from just having a website to having an absolute sales machine. So, in the next slide, we're going to talk about, what everyone's thinking. What's the payoff? What do we get out of doing all of this? So the beauty of this setup is the compounding effect. Once your site is designed to convert, it keeps working for you day after day. You start getting bookings while you're doing hair, while you're sleeping, while you're just out living your best life. And that's one less phone call you need to return and one less schedule gap you need to fill.
And the measurable results are where it gets exciting. Your calendar fills up with additional staff time. Digital gift card sales happen automatically, especially appealing to last-minute shoppers. Automated reminders reduce no-shows and keep clients coming back. Over time, every tweak we make to improve your performance continues to pay off. Not once, but every single day. It's like adding extra stylists without adding payroll.
Yeah, and here's the kicker. Clients start to expect this level of convenience, and if you're the salon that delivers it, you win them over before they've even walked through your door.
Fantastic. So really good stuff, you guys. Can I just peel back just a couple ideas? And by the way, if you want your website, if you want Afton to take a look, Afton, who gave us our intro today, she can certainly take a look at your website, just talk to you about some of the technology and some of the things. One of the questions I saw go by on the poll, and I'll use this, Howie and Teresa, for you to talk a little bit more too, is like upgrading your website, right? Like, have you updated your website in the past 12 months? And the reality is, with the new search methodologies, the new search technologies with AI. If you haven't looked at that update, that's something we should be doing, right, Howie?
Exactly. Yeah. The technology has changed drastically, especially over the past 3 to 6 months. And if you're not staying up to date, it's going to set you behind, especially with the AI searching and what they're looking for. It's all based on the technology behind the scenes, not just the way your website looks and functions.
Yeah, and so, again, just one of the takeaways today, look, ask, if you have a web person, ask them, when's the last time we've updated the technology on the site? If you want to get with Afton, she can help you look and see, hey, is this a site that's modern enough to be able to handle the agent-driven searches that are now being, growing so much in the marketplace. So that's just one of the pieces of takeaways you can get. Obviously, all the things that Teresa, you said, super important. Howie, that you said, super important. And things for us to be thinking about is we do want to fill our calendars when we're, don't have to answer the phone every time to do that. And that's what our website does for us. So I see a couple polls going by right now. There's one with call to action. Certainly answer that poll. That's always helpful for us as moderators and presenters to understand kind of where your head is. And some of these responses are people are saying no. Some people are saying, what is a call to action? Let's just peel that back one more time, Teresa. A call to action is just the 101.
Yeah, so call to action is just kind of like a button that literally just calls to action. So it's a button that prompts you to make bookings, schedule an appointment, contact, and things like that. As visitors, you kind of want those call to actions to be prominent, easy to find, especially on mobile as well. So that's pretty much what it is. And it's very important to have because you don't want to miss out on like leads and bookings just because it's hard for them to navigate your website and not be able to find those buttons.
Yeah,
That's
one thing when you look at a website, the first screen that shows up, whether you're on phone, tablet, or your desktop, it's called above the fold. So you always want to have your main call to action above the fold, so people see that right when they land on your site. Whether that's you want them to book, whether it's you want them to call you, whatever it is, that should be prominent on all three devices.
Yeah, that's well said. So there is a method to the madness, and one of the great things at Salon Marketing Pro that we study as a team is we know our industry, right? We've got a lot of industry experience, so we know, where we track sites and have heat maps and things like that. We know where people are clicking. We know where that call to action should be to provide the most success for our clients to get those bookings as well. The last thing I'll say, and then I'm going to bring you in here in just a minute, but the last thing I just want to call out, one of the questions I think Lori asked in the poll, the first one was about visual, and Teresa, I heard you say it too. Like your website, it needs to be a great creative visual representation of your brand, no doubt. So it used to be that was only the case, but now not just the visual to speak to the humans, but you also have to have the back end, the technology to talk to the agents that are scouring your site. Because again, with somebody's in ChatGPT and says, "Hey, I need to find a reputable salon that does great color," ChatGPT is going to fire off their agents. They're going to go read it, and it doesn't matter what the visual side of it looks like. So, Teresa, now it's more important than ever to have that combination. Would you agree with that?
Yeah, exactly. As you mentioned earlier, you're not only designing for your clients that are visiting your websites anymore, you are also designing for these agents as well. So it's very important to have all of the information on there updated and correct and accurate. So as Brian mentioned, if you haven't touched your website in the last year or so, you could be falling behind and you're missing out on these important best practices to have for these AI tools and agents to recommend your site above the rest.
Fantastic. All right. So we've talked about the 24/7, sales machine of the website, the importance to have it look nice and beautiful and all the things, but also having the technology right, having things updated. Chanda's one of our specialists. She works on with the SEO group, and so she's involved in really making sure our sites get found when people search, "I need a salon," or "I need hair coloring services," or "I need balayage," or whatever it is, right? Chanda's the person that works behind the scenes on that. Chan, I'm going to make one introduction because I think this is really important, and this speaks to why a partner is incredibly important right now. So our team, the team that Chan is on, put together a fake brand. Okay, so we're trying to learn this AI thing just like everybody, right? Because it changes every day because AI is learning. So it's never static, right? It's always learning. So we're trying to keep up with it for our clients, of course. So Chanda and team put together a fake brand, and within 3 weeks, they were able to get it into Google's AI overview. So if anybody has had a search lately on Google, AI will summarize the results, right? It's not just the blue links anymore. It gives you actually a result of here's what an overview. Well, if you can get your brand in there, that's a meaningful thing. So we did all these tests and studies, Chanda, and we got that fake brand actually to show up in 3 weeks in that AI overview. And it had to do with what I think what came out, and I'll let you talk about it, but what came out was the fundamentals that we've worked on for years in search engine optimization still matter. And so why don't you bring us into that and talk to us about some of the things that we can be thinking about when it comes to search so our clients can ensure they're working hard to be found in those types of searches.
Absolutely. So basically, what Howie and Teresa were talking about, we're going to bring all of that together, but we're also going to put it into social media. We're going to put it into your Google business listing and go a little bit further on the website to get there. So it's really important now to have your NAP, which is your name and your address, all of your information about your company across the board correctly. Google has always stated that, all the search engines have always stated that, but it's become more and more important in your website. That is something that people neglect to do that on sometimes. They'll update it on these listings, they'll update it on their Google profile, their social profiles, but they forget about their website. It all needs to match. We need to make sure that all of that matches. And if you do not have social profiles, you need to really think about getting them. They're becoming very big. That is part of what we used in order to do what Brian was telling you about with the fake brand. We actually took social profiles, we took the website, we made everything match, and we answered the questions that people were asking, because that's what you've got to do. You've got to answer the questions that your customers are asking about your business and your services. But you got to answer them in more than one place. You definitely want it on your website, but you want to do it in a way that you're not just asking questions on your website, because that looks unnatural. You want everything to look natural. So you want to put the answers to them on a way that you are the knowledge base. You are the authority on this topic. So you put it on your website that way, but then you also put it in social media. You put it in Facebook, you put it in Instagram, you put it in Pinterest, you put it in Twitter, almost forgot about Twitter. And you also want, if you can get it, a LinkedIn for your business. You want to put it there. You want to put it in YouTube. and you want to put it in your Google business listing. Obviously, your Google business listing is very huge. You want to put this information across the board. So what are your questions, or what are questions that your people are asking? I know for salons, a lot of them is on a weekend, especially on a Saturday or a Sunday, they're going to be looking, is your operation open? Do you do hair color on Sundays? Do you do nails on Sundays? You know, what type of services do you offer? So you want to make sure and answer that. Your hours will answer that. But then if you do weekends that most salons in your area don't do, capitalize on that. Put that on your website, put that on your social media, link out about it. Hey, we're open on Sundays, or hey, we're open on Saturdays in the afternoons when other ones aren't. Capitalize on the questions that they're answering, answer them in a way that serves a benefit, that makes you the authority. If you offer a new type of hair color or a new type of service that other salons don't offer, make sure that you touch on that. You know, and always look, and you can ask Google, you know, what type of questions are people asking about hair salons in my area, and be sure and put in your specific city. They'll give you a list of things people are asking, and then you look at those questions and decide, how could I use this information? What do I offer that these people are looking for that would stand out? Capitalize that on social media. And you want to make sure and do all that you can in social media. Bring it all together. Your Google business, it used to be called Google Updates. And I say that because this just changed in the last couple of weeks, that Google is now, we used to tell you, go in and do Google Updates. So if you heard me say that and anything else I've talked in, they're now called Google Posts. It is the same thing and they work exactly the same way, but they're called Google Posts. And basically that goes along with your Google business profile. You can go in and tell your customers something that's going on. I recommend doing that at least 3 times a week, two times a week, 3 times a week. You don't have to do it every day, but do it at least 2 or 3 times a week. That's really good. You can put a post out there that tells what kind of new service you're offering, if you're offering one, or if you have a special going on that week, and then link to your website. That's hugely important in all of the social medias. Link to your website. If it's about a particular service and you have a page on your website that's dedicated to that particular service, link to that URL. Do it on your Google My Business listing, because that pulls directly, that helps with AI, but so does other social media. So if you're going to be linking to that service and telling about it on Google, go in and do it on Facebook as well. And people ask me a lot of times, how do I link on Facebook? Within Facebook or Instagram, when you're talking about a service, just tell a little bit about it. And as soon as you're done telling about it, drop that raw link in right there. Just skip a couple of spaces, drop it in. That'll give you a backlink to it. And it also, when AI bots start looking, hey, what do they offer? Where is it at? It puts all of that information together. They are the authority on this. They have it. They even have a page dedicated to this. That's becoming increasingly important. So those are really good things that you can do that reinforce, you do this, you're the authority on it, you know about this service. I can't stress that enough. Your Google business listing and your Bing listing. And I keep talking about Google because Google's always been our number one. Bing, though, Bing is becoming something that AI bots really, really look at. You want to set that up and you want to make it complete also. You can't do posts in there yet like you can in Google. I do suspect eventually that will be, but right now they don't. But you can make that listing complete. You can even link it to your Google business listing. That way that information is consistent across the board as well. But you want to make sure all of those listings are consistent with your Facebook, with your website. And like I said, just make everything complete. You can even put blogs on your website that talk about these things, or individual service pages that talk about these things. FAQs on your website. I know Howie and them were talking about make it complete, make it match your GBP. Make sure it's got FAQs. One little page that gets forgot about all the time is about us, because everybody's like, nobody cares about us. They do. They do care about us. And not only do they care about us, so do the bots. So do an about us page. You don't have to make it, 2,000 characters long or 2,000 words long. Make it brief and to the point, but tell how you got started. Do you have a cute story of how you got started? What made you get into the business? Tell a little bit about that, because your customers do want to hear it, and it makes you real. It makes you a real person, and it makes you relatable. AI bots looks for that because they look to create trust, because your customer is looking for you. When a customer goes and searches on those search engines, those customers are their customers. They want them to return. If they provide them with the best solutions and the best answers and the best companies, you're more to return to that search engine than leave it and go to another one. So they want to get customers and companies that they trust. So make them trust you, give them all the elements they need to do that. I think that's probably some of the best advice I can give you right now, because it still is a little bit unknown.
Shanda, there was a lot of meat in this, what you just gave
Yeah.
us. A lot of pointers for the team on this call. One thing I'd say is there are a lot of things. I mean, I love I do remember this call out when had this meeting about the fake brand we built. Was we were able to answer questions with FAQs and things like that, right? The chatbot that people might be putting in a chatbot, for example. So what I would say is this. Get on Afton's calendar, let her look at how you're showing up on search. She can show you what your competitors are doing, by the way, and that's pretty important as you're starting to navigate how you're going to be, capturing, people searching for color service or whatever they're searching. So look, you don't have to do all of it today, but I mean, one thing is at least be aware of a couple things you can do. And Chandler, you gave us really the Google Business Profiles a call out for me, making sure we're doing Google Posts, making sure that our social media is connected, all those things. You mentioned backlinks. We could have a whole webinar on that. So really important stuff that you shared. But again, grab Afton on this and she can help you navigate. And again, just look at how you compare and search and how your competitor compares, because that's meaningful for you as you make decisions on how you're going to build your website and how you're going to do things going forward. All right, so we talked about search and AI. We've talked about the cornerstone, the website that's going to continue to create, that engine for you. The other place that AI is impacting is in the digital realm. And Peyton, I'm going to bring you in for this. I think when I say digital realm, I mean digital paid realm. So running ads, because one thing right now, before we get into talking about digital ads and how AI is impacting it, with all the changes in search, you even heard just Google made an update 2 weeks ago. With all the changes in the search, one place that you can, if you're looking for quick growth as we come into the holidays, paid ads is a way to do that, right? Search engine optimization takes time. All these things, their marketing's a long game. It's not a short game, but paid ads is going to be your quickest return because it can actually deploy ads. And the latest thing that's come out, and Peyton, before I hand it over to you, I just want to make this comment because I know you're going to talk about it a little bit more. The latest thing that's come out is now Google, when you're searching, I need a color service or whatever, and that you see that AI overview, they're now placing paid ads in that overview. So that's an area that's impacted by AI. So that's one way to get in there. You could create a brand and try to get in that AI overview like our team did. But the reality is if you're running paid Google and Facebook campaigns, you can get in those AI overviews as well. So before I get too long-winded with that, Peyton, let's just go to 101 here on digital ad targeting. Like, what is digital ad targeting for our audience here?
Yeah, so digital ad targeting is simply matching your message to the right people at the right time on the right platform. It's not just who, but also the where and when. So if we don't get specific with who we are targeting, digital campaigns can have the opportunity to target the entire world. That's obviously not optimal. That's not ideal. That's a waste of our money there. So it's super important that we're finding the right people who do have a need for your service. A few components that we look at and consider when wiring up a campaign is things like demographics, so age, location, income level, behavioral data. If they've been visiting your website, they've been stalking you, they've been maybe looking in who around their area they want to make a service with. So the behavioral data is really important. Contextual targeting, so making sure your ads are showing up alongside relevant content. If someone's Googling, hair masks or some sort of like hair treatment, if you have a service that provides that, or if you have some sort of formulas that kind of go along with that, we want to make sure we're showing up alongside those searches as well. And then also with custom audiences. So uploading customer list or targeting people that are your best customers or are very similar to your best customers. These platforms, we're on them all day. They know a lot about us. So they know, who you are and maybe who's someone who has online behavior that's super similar to you and say like, hey, this person's one of my best people in my salon. Find me 10 more people that are just like them. So these platforms can do a lot of that.
Fantastic. So you mentioned Google targeting, and again, that in the first slide we talked about connecting the software and marketing. This is ways you do that, right? You can learn about who your database has, feed that up into some of the digital platforms. They can use AI and really help you with that targeting and leverage that technology to make sure you get a shorter runway. So we talked about Google impacts, other impacts on digital ads that we should be thinking about from an AI perspective, Peyton.
Yeah, so many. So, I mean, again, AI has changed how these campaigns operate behind the scenes a lot in the past couple of years, even in the past couple of months, they're always evolving. So previously you might handpick audiences, run A/B testing over weeks at a time. And that's a lot of like, that used to be a super involved process of you need to get on there and check every day. Now the platforms can do things like adjusting your bids, expanding and narrowing your audiences, or assembling creative combinations in real time. They use signals like the device you're on, the location, time of day, and then past engagement of those customers that you're trying to reach. So that's something that, is AI specific. So Google goes beyond the exact keyword. There's smart bidding and responsive search ads. It learns which search patterns kind of lead to bookings to your shop and automatically rotates headlines, descriptions, all that good stuff, whatever combination gets you those results. They're going to make sure that they're always changing that, always testing that to where your campaign is performing optimally. On the meta side of things, they've got something called the Advantage Plus audience. So that uses your engagement platforms. Maybe it's people who interact with before and after reels, any sort of kind of content online that's similar to what you're putting out in your salon. They know this, they're going to find that, and they're going to use that to their advantage to your campaign's performance.
Hey, Peyton, one thing that, this on the screen, there's an example of a 10% off for new clients, for example, here on that ad. One of the things that I know that we deploy that we've really injected AI into is the landing page that link takes someone to, right? So using AI to determine what's the best performing landing page for that demographic or that behavioral pattern this person is showing us. It gets super technical, but there's different landing pages that will show up for different people in hopes to get them to book. So that's the kind of the uniqueness of it. So I know we've done a lot in the landing page side of things. We do, and I thank you for running a poll on this one. So a lot of people here, that are responding to this poll are saying, no, I don't run paid ads, or I need help with it. So absolutely, this stuff gets complicated. We have a great team of digital people. Obviously, Peyton's on that team, who help, get these campaigns off the ground. So getting help in this area is a good thing, because if you're not doing it right, just in all honesty, like, you could spend a lot of money pretty fast, and with little to show for it. So having a team alongside you is probably good. And if you're looking for growth heading into the holidays, this is a great time to be thinking about that. All right, lastly, before we head home here, Peyton, last point, tying in organic and your paid ads. So let's start with, what is organic? Let's go 101 here, Peyton.
Yeah, so organic is, just you posting on your business's social media platforms, whether that's on Facebook or Meta. You can get fancy with it with the Reels or TikToks, but just having an online presence is super, super important, as well as it is super important to have this digital presence. And obviously the best formula is when you have these things going hand in hand. So organic content, this can be, 2 to 3 posts per week. Whatever cadence works for you and makes sense for you. Most important thing there is really just to stay consistent with the kind of content you're showing. Before or afters, those do pretty well. Trending stylist features. Also just keeping your website visuals and wording in sync with your social post. Just having everything that you're doing online. Your website, your Google My Business, everything having that kind of same message all across the board is going to make these platforms super happy. So the happier you make Google, they'll do you some favors and help you show up where you want to show up. So what you can do also hand in hand is kind of mirroring your organic content to your digital ads content. This can be through things like what your click-through actions are. Howie and Teresa touched on this earlier with your website. You're going to have a clear call to action. Same goes for your social posts. You want to have a super clear call to action, whether it's book now, reserve your spot, learn more information, whatever it's going to be. You want to make sure that it's, consistent across the board, and that you're using all of your efforts to kind of drive one action home.
That's fantastic. I love it. And I think, again, the takeaway here, we've heard from some really great teams on this call that are in this every day. They live and breathe this stuff. And, Peyton, bringing it home for us on digital. There's super powerful ways to use this stuff. And again, it can get technical and complicated and all these things. Don't be fearful about it. It's just, again, this is the right time. Again, it doesn't have to be us. Find a partner. If you want to learn about paid ads, Afton can at least tell you about it. Like, what does it look like in your market? If you're in whatever Idaho, she can look at it and tell you kind of, hey, here's what we could be thinking about from a paid ad component. The last thing I'll say before I bring us to close is that, as I mentioned this a little bit earlier, marketing is a long game. You have to think it's an investment. Everybody on this call is investing in their business, and they're a business owner and they want to grow their business likely. Because if you're not growing, you're dying. So, thinking about marketing as one of those investments is critical. And, what are you willing to invest to get, new clients in your seats? And that's important to consider too. And that's something Afton can work with you on as well. But great marketing, coupled with great operations is the tremendous formula for success in growing your business for the long term. So thanks, team, for jumping in and giving us some things to think about. I know we're going to get into a little Q&A. Just so you know, there is a free PDF that will go out with this recording, 10 Essentials for a Sales-Driven Salon website. So you can get that PDF. And of course, we have different packages of different things that we do for our clients. And Afton can make a recommendation if you're like, look, I just want to be thinking about this for 2026. Fine. She can at least tell you, hey, you based on where you are and where you are in your evolution of marketing, this is the right package for you to be thinking about. Here's what, investment level might look like. So you can really start thinking about that from an investor and business owner type perspective. Okay, so there is a bonus offer that was put in here. I just saw this actually. So this is pretty cool. So we do in Salon Marketing Pro, we do have a chat bot. You go back to Howie and Teresa talking about the 24/7 assistant, the chat bot that lives on your website too, that we put on there can actually answer a lot of questions. It learns about your brand. It's intelligent. We can feed it things. So that's another great thing. So all of our websites come with a basic one, but this is the pro version. So it gives you a little bit more, capability when it comes to chat bots. So for the first 10 attendees to book a strategy call, you would get access to that. So I'm going to pass it all back to the team here for the Q&A. So Afton, are you taking this for us?
I am indeed. Yeah. So we had some questions come through. I'm just going to kind of read them one by one and then direct them to the panel to answer. So first we had, is it okay to have stock images versus real salon images?
Oh man, Teresa and Howie.
I could take that one. It's always recommended to have photos of your actual salon. It gives that experience. But obviously, sometimes it's a little bit hard. You guys are busy, so stock can fill in certain places here or there. You don't need professional images either. You don't need to hire some professional photographer to come in. You can use, with technology of iPhones these days, you can get some really nice photos. It's just getting the right angle and stuff. So I would use those to start. We can easily insert those, and then, eventually, if you do ever have the opportunity to get a professional photographer to come in to get those perfect angles, it's always going to make your website more professional looking. So hope that kind of answers that question.
Love that. Love that. All right. And then next we have, what does below the fold mean?
Yeah, so below the fold, I kind of spoke a little bit about above the fold. So above the fold is that first landing page. Below the fold is what people scroll down to. So on every page, obviously you can't fit everything on that first thing, that first screenshot. So you need to make sure that everything below the fold is kind of easy to read and navigate so that people can find what they're looking for.
Awesome. Thanks, Howie. And then next is, where can I find website template options, or are they all custom?
So we have a design gallery that we use that can be sent out from Afton. And if you set up a demo, she'll show you the designs. Everything is slightly tailored for your branding. So, it's more of, I like to call them website structure than website design. It's what structure do you like? Whether it's your logos on the left, maybe the logo centered, a big image versus a small image and stuff like that. And then all the colors and themes of this will be matching your branding, your style, your salon.
Awesome. Yeah. And I'm happy to walk you guys through what that looks like as well. And then love this one. How often should I update my website?
I can take this one. So we kind of touched on it earlier, like how do you know if your website's up to date? Like, are you using good technology? And for your salon, like the easiest way to tell is if your website loads quickly on a phone. Can someone see your service menu, pricing, and portfolio really quickly? Can they book an appointment without calling the front desk? And if the answer is no to any of those, then it is time for you to update your website. And we mentioned earlier about AI and stuff like that. It is changing so quickly within the past few months. So honestly, if you haven't taken a look at your website or updated anything within just the past year, it is probably time to update it to keep up with, the latest trends and, features that today's clients are expecting and like, AI tools are expecting as well as they scan through your website.
Yeah, so that's important for the technology side of things. It's also just important on a regular basis just to make sure your site's updated as far as content goes, making sure you have the correct rates on there. It's sometimes good to do blogs. Google kind of looks at how often not only you're updating the technology, but how often the site itself is getting updated as well. If it sees that the site's been stagnant for a long time, it starts kind of losing that trust. So it's important to kind of make sure that you're keeping that trust consistent with Google.
Love that. Good call out, Howie. And then next we have, how many calls to action should I have on my website?
That's not really a good answer for that, to be honest. Obviously the more, the better, but you also don't want your site to start looking like, a bingo board. Like you gotta strategically place call to actions in the right spot, and they gotta mimic what the content around it is as well. So that's something that we spend a lot of time and focus on with our designs that we've created to make sure that we're providing the best call to actions and placements to get you guys the right business.
Love that. Awesome. And then next we have, how much money should I start with on paid ads?
I
All right,
can take this
Peyton.
one, or Brian, if you want to jump in.
No,
But
no, I want you to take it.
I would say it definitely depends on, your market, where you are, putting out a digital ad in New York City versus a more rural area. There's definitely a lot of different factors that you need to think about there. But I would say on a general basis, I like to start small. You don't want to be wasting your budget while you're learning about your campaign, but about a minimum of $10 a day is probably a great place to just start off where your campaigns are. Let these AI tools learn about how you're doing, where you are. They'll also help you recommend like times to up your budget, times to lower your budget. So the platforms will help you, but that's like a good safe starting point in my opinion.
Love that. Yeah, definitely depends. All right. And then next we have, is adding the brands I work with helpful or hurtful to my website?
Yeah, I think it's always helpful to showcase, the brands that are on there. It also helps, Google kind of go through your site. And if people are actually looking for salons that only use certain brands, I know some salons are very green and things like that too. If that's something that's important to the client, then just having those products or that verbiage on your site is very, very useful. It really can't hurt. I think the more information that you have on your site is always better. It just depends on how you display it, how you word it. Just make sure it's not cluttered and doesn't look kind of like an ad or like, how I said earlier, just like a bingo board, just like a bunch of stuff that you're trying to put on your site. As long as it's tastefully done, and Howie and I know best practice, we keep up with the trends. And so we are using best practices to make sure that we are showcasing, your brand, your identity, your content in a very tasteful way that converts.
Love that. Beautifully put. All right, guys. So I think we are going to go ahead and wrap everything up for the day. I put in the chat my calendar link to be able to book that free consultation. Like I said, I can show you guys how people are finding you online, where the traffic that's going to your site originates from. It's a very like tailored meeting. If you guys want to dive into, like Brian was saying, some competition, we can get into the nitty gritty of all of it. So please use that link to book on my calendar. Thank you guys, everybody, for your time this morning. And I hope everybody has a fantastic Monday and a great rest of your week. I hope to
Thanks,
talk with you
everybody.
guys.
Bye-bye.